For horror films, you either need a villain or a situation that is terrifying. Otherwise, you're just making a thriller. Think of all your favorite horror films, and I bet they had a memorable antagonist that was either psychotic or evil. The few that don't are like Eradication, where the situation is so horrifying that the person doing it is just an afterthought. Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I review new movies and television shows and try to release a new review every day from Monday to Friday. Today I'm talking about Presence. It's a horror film directed by Christian Schultz and Thomas Johnston. It's written by Peter Ambrosio and Christian Schultz, and stars Jenna Ling Adams, Dave Davis, and Alexandria Daberry. As a film, it quietly and slowly builds tension while delivering the story to you in small doses. It does a good job of keeping the mystery going, but fails to deliver a satisfying result. It has decent aspects such as the acting and dialogue, but fails to elicit any feelings of horror, shock, or disgust. The story doesn't answer many of the questions it asks, and the ending is so confusing that I'm not sure the writers could tell you what happened. The plot is fairly simple and revolves around a trip. Two young women, Jennifer and Sam, hoping to sell paper clips, are invited on board the yacht of a rich investor, David. On board the ship, Jennifer begins having nightmares. At first, her nightmares are just dreams, but soon they begin to manifest in reality. The others aboard the ship soon realize that Jennifer may have brought aboard something or someone that is more than they bargained for. The story is well told, but doesn't have a lot of substance to it. They do a good job of creating mystery and intrigue, and Jennifer and David are both genuinely interesting characters that I was invested in. Jenna Ling Adams as Jennifer does an impressive job of displaying absolute terror and nailing the different emotions that accompany a mental breakdown. She looks genuinely horrified at what is happening, and she and Dave Davis kept me watching. Dave Davis as David was an absolute gem in this movie. He's creepy and weird, but has enough confidence and charm that you can understand why people might look past it. His ability to take a normal moment and make it weird is uncanny, and I hope to see more of this guy in the future. The problem is that the film doesn't actually have any answers. The movie spends its entire time teasing and taunting you with tiny tidbits of information and hinting at the dark presence aboard the ship. But when it comes time to do the reveal, we get an explanation that comes out of the left field and leaves us with more questions than answers. We're never told who David really is and what's going on with him, or what his plan was for the young women. We're also not told what the presence really is or what its motivations are. The film vaguely hints at the idea that David did something bad enough to warrant the events of the film, but doesn't actually give you enough information to figure out what it was. It took all the satisfaction out of his story when I realized I didn't know why he was targeted. The lack of answers made me feel like I must have missed a scene or two, but when I went looking through the movie, I didn't find anything. I still don't know enough about Sam or her involvement in the story's events, don't know enough about David to understand his story, and I have no idea what happened to Jennifer at the end or why it happened, especially with the flashback at the beginning. It's a lot of questions to leave unanswered, and the film doesn't deliver any of the emotions you expect from a horror. The scariest thing is the jump scares, and after the first one, I wasn't really shocked by any of the subsequent iterations. You see a shadow with glowing red eyes appear randomly behind the characters, but the shadow has a very strict means of interacting with the world, and once you know how it works, it isn't scary. The shadow never does anything crazy looking, and only ever murders people with a knife, so there isn't any horror or disgust. Every kill aside from one happens off screen, and so the most you see is a body lying around with fake blood soaking into its clothing. The one time it does kill someone on screen, it does it in lighting that is so hard to see that it might as well have been done off screen. The film doesn't even bother to show you the setup for most of the kills. We see the presence take a knife, and then a character starts to discover bodies around the ship. We do see the presence about to stab one of the crew members, but aside from that, it's just implied that the presence killed all those people. The crew of this ship is made up of large men, and I kept wondering how the presence managed to kill all of them without any of them fighting back at all. It doesn't make much sense, and I wish the film would have actually shown you this. Aside from the writing issues and the lack of scary visuals, the audio isn't well done either. The movie is mostly filled with ambient noise and tension-building tracks, and they're well chosen for the most part. The problem arises in volume control. The ambient tracks, such as the seagulls cawing and the waves lapping against the boat, are so loud that they start to compete with the dialogue for priority. It never completely covers the dialogue, but this happens several times throughout the movie with different sounds. The thunderstorms are another example of this. There are also a few sounds in here that are deafeningly loud. One of the thunderclaps had me pulling my headphones off before I went deaf from a second. They're not so major as to ruin the film, but the audio problems are definitely noticeable. Presence has a decent concept behind it, but the story feels unfinished, and the movie lacks polish. There are audio problems, the visuals aren't scary or shocking in any way, and even the two leads trying their hardest couldn't fix it. If they had spent more time making the presence scary or making me understand why it was acting this way, I might have enjoyed the movie a lot more. 4 out of 10.